It's been a long time since I did my last favorite unit video, but with Book 7 ending a few weeks ago, and with the new year beginning, I figured it was a good enough time to reflect back and look at my favorite units throughout Book 7. In the past, I've done a straight up top 10 favorite units list, but I'm going to make a few changes this year. This year, I'm going to split it between two separate lists of top 5s. I want to do my top 5 favorite units in the game, as well as my top 5 favorite units with the best art in the game, or at least what I think to be the best art. So, without any further ado, let's get the show on the road and start it off with my top 5 favorite unit arts for Book 7. Oftentimes, the art alone can influence whether I want to pull for a unit or completely skip a banner. Many times I've seen a unit and I'm like, yo, I like that art, I don't even care about that unit, but the art makes me want to have them. This top 5 is going to differ from my top 5 favorite units because this one incorporates every single unit that has been released in Book 7. It does not have to be a unit that I have, and there are a few that are on the list that I do not have. I carefully combed over all the units, each of their arts through Book 7, their standard, attacking, special, and their damage art. I narrowed it down to 25 units, and from there I did a little grading system and narrowed it down to just the top 5. So with that, let's get it started and start with my number 5 favorite art from Book 7.
Grown-ups are just kids with bigger arms and legs.
Coming in at number 5 is Halloween Anna, and I feel the art for this character just perfectly depicts her mischievous personality when it comes to getting the bag and finessing people out of their own money for her own gain. Awakening Anna has one of my favorite designs in that game, so for her to be drawn in such a manner is just perfect to me. I especially like her face when she's counting her little coins in her attacking and special art. To me, it feels like they almost just go from house to house before the trick-or-treaters come and just peddle off different candies to different houses for a jacked up price just to make a profit on the whole holiday, and it just seems fitting. I really like the use of the colors and the shading and the expressions for both characters and all of the arts, and for that reason, I feel like number 5 is a great spot for Halloween Anna.
My apologies. I thought I saw my brother in the crowd, but of course it was someone else.
Now I am a simple man. You're telling me Kaboon drew a unit of not only Carla and Freya? Sign me up, because those are two of my favorite units in the game. I want to focus on a few things that make this art stand out to me and why I especially like it. First off, the 2 big ears. Yes, the big floppy ears. Who doesn't like floppy fuzzy rabbit ears? I feel like that design choice really fits Carla a lot better than if they went with the standard pointy rabbit ears, because, you know, Carla, she's pretty stoic, pretty reserved, serious character, and yeah, she's in a bunny costume, but I feel it suits her character a little more. I also like her axe. It's got the butterfly motif for the dream world to kind of match with Freya and that personality. I also want to point out the little Freyr goat that Freya has in her little basket. And I do like the little tear they added on the damaged art. That's a nice little touch. Also, just the choice of those 2 units together really fit for me. I know a lot of people are like, is their only thing in common is they got brother issues? Well, I mean, they're a little more deeper than just simple brother issues, and, you know, let them relate to each other, let them build off each other. I like that. I feel their expressions for all their art is drawn very well to match their personalities, and it's just solid all around, no complaints. Now maybe next year, we can get another piece of the family rabbit tree and give me that Carol alt for next year. It'll probably look silly, but I gotta have it to round out the family.
I love the sound of the wind. It reminds me of someone who isn't here anymore.
This is one of the units that I stated before whose art completely influenced my will to summon for them. I like Dagger, but she's not really a must pull for me if she gets an alt. But for this art specifically, I said, I need that. I feel like her artist nailed every single one of her expressions. Her default art might be in contention for one of my favorite arts in the entire game. Does she have the muscles? Check. Does she have the devious tomboy attitude? Check. And just the use of colors and shading, I feel really sets it apart from a lot of other units in the game where they feel, I don't want to say flat, but more just not as alive as this art feels to me. for those reasons, that is why Wind Tribe Dagger is number 3 on the list.
I wanted to be there for you as you grew up. We would have had so much fun.
Ymir's art is a true showcase of what I think peak character design can be for Fire Emblem Heroes. I always loved the way they designed her shirt to flow into the foliage that she creates from walking into like a waterfall, or in this case like the ocean, and I'm so happy they decided to carry that over into her summer version. I also personally have a soft spot for characters who have fancy, unique designs etched into their eyes. I really always am drawn to that design choice. I also really like the friendship showcase between Air and Ymir, and it really comes through in this art. I know a lot of people kind of memed on the damaged art, but to me, I'm gonna take it as wholesome and say there's nothing wrong with the goddess of creation and life trying to protect her good friend who was the former servant of death itself. I also really enjoyed the bird on Ymir's shoulder, just showcasing the extreme panic of almost getting ready to die and freaking out, and it just makes me laugh every time I notice it. If and when the day comes and Mitama ever gets into the game, I hope her art is drawn by this artist just for the sake of the face and the eyes and the hair are all done the exact way I can envision her being in the game. And for these reasons is why Ymir comes in at number 2 on my list of favorite Book 7 arts.
Do you still intend to oppose me?
Now we move on to the unit with my favorite art from Book 7, and I think it really comes as no surprise who it is. It is almost impossible to look at Mortis and not think he has the best art in the game. It's only right that the Demon King himself be represented in such an imposing and domineering manner. His art has everything you need, perfect use of colors, shading, and light sources, the rocks flying in the air from each of his powerful steps as he inches forward closer to killing you. He's one of the units that's got a rare differing version from attack to special proccing art. He's swinging through with the giant fist, and I just feel like you can actually feel the force that's about to hit you when you look at it. For some reason, he's got the insane 22 pack of ab muscles. I feel it's just like the perfect representation of a final boss in a game. I can't describe this art in a better way other than it feels alive. If it was a live 2D moving piece, I feel like I could easily visualize it. And to me, Mortis definitely has the best art, probably in the game, not even just Book 7, but in the entire game itself. So, we finished up the art category, now let's transition over to my favorite top 5 units from Book 7. The criteria for this is different from the art, as obviously it must be a unit that is in my barracks so I could have actually tested them to see how good they are and how they fare with my teams. The unit must still perform well against many of the top meta units which change at this point every single week. I can be able to comfortably slot them into any team and more than likely be successful with minimal effort. To break up any tiebreakers or indecision in my mind, I also threw them into a mass duel simulator against my ever-growing custom list of busted, maxed out units in the game. So with no more delaying, let's get to number 5 on my top 5 favorite units of Book 7.
How vexing. I would never have believed it so difficult to serve a simple beverage.
I did not pull for this unit. This was a banner I completely skipped. I did, however, get blessed on November 22nd with the double special heroes banner and happened to just get her on Redeem Summon. When I saw her pop up, I thought, oh sweet, I heard she's pretty good, but there's so many crazy fast sword units that come out every month at this point. Can she still hang with the best without getting crazy skill inheritance? Well, come to find out, that doesn't matter at all because she's still really, really good. Do you like proccing your special on every single interaction? Ira can do it. Do you like hitting like a damn truck? Ira can do it. One-shotting armor units that are on defense tiles? No problem. Having 90 attack and 78 speed on initiation is just too good to pass up. The only real downside I have for this unit personally is sort of a playstyle thing. I am not the biggest fan of using cav units just because of their terrain restrictions and movement issues, but I'm assuming Heroes is going to introduce some crazy cav warping or terrain non-affecting skill or sub-unit to help support them to get crazier movement that'll make all of these issues I have with this unit null and void. So for these reasons, that's why Duo Tea Time Ira is in my number 5 slot for book 7.
Being with you, memories flood back.
The day is December 4th, 2022. I log on to YouTube and I see the book 7 trailer, and then that's when it happens. I lay my eyes upon the goddess that is the Snake Amami Golden Seer Gulveg herself. I start making immediate connections to another game I play from the Fate franchise with servants like Ryder and Gorgon, and at that moment I knew this was a unit that I had to have. And other than being incredibly annoying to summon, she would not disappoint. Being able to attack 3 times per player phase in one turn and spread fire terrain throughout the entire map is just power that truly lives up to the title of being a mythic unit. I will eventually plus 10 this unit, but with her being a mythic, it's going to probably just be the worst time of my life because mythic banners and I do not get along. There are 2 things that in my mind are slightly holding this unit back though. I will piggyback off Duo Ira earlier, and it's her being a cav unit. Just the terrain issues are sometimes too annoying for me when I initiate and I can only move 1 space, but because of certain terrain around me, I'm kind of screwed. And then being a defensive mythic is super duper lame. I definitely could have used her as an offensive mythic because my offense AR teams are not that great. And I really love Gale Force playstyle, so she would have fit in really well with what I wanted to do. All that being said, Gulveg will definitely be a favorite unit of mine for a long time to come. And also when you max level her out, she told me that she loves me, and that's really all I need in life.
I could have sworn I heard a chorus of voices calling my name.
If you would have told me that Brave Robin would have been one of my favorite units after the CYL results came out, I probably would have laughed in your face. While Awakening was my very first Fire Emblem game and I did really enjoy that game, I never really had a gigantic attachment to Robin as a character or a unit. I really only summoned for him because I just always like getting all of the Choose Your Legends unit when their banner comes out. And boy, am I glad I decided to do that, because the utility he provides is just insane. Warping shenanigans, spectrum buffs, damage reduction, special cooldown, adaptive damage, the list goes on and on and on. There's a reason if you've been paying attention to the footage that he is on every single team you've seen in the background. Just like me not using Robin is a straight up handicap to everyone on my team. And don't get it twisted, Robin isn't just here because of the support and utility he provides, but the amount of times he either clapped a unit or survived a unit that should have nuked him was incredibly surprising to me. In a world where a new God Sword comes out every month and replaces the one before it, he still provides something to help differentiate himself from the crowd. I'm not entirely sure if I would ever try to plus 10 Brave Robin. I wouldn't be opposed to it happening organically throughout the years by just randomly getting him, but I don't know if I would ever spend the orbs to purposefully do it. Honestly, if I'm being real, Robin was very close to flirting between second or first place on this list, but the other 2 units just barely nudged him out, and for that is why Robin stands firmly in number 3.
I promised my mother I would protect everything under the sky. I intend to do just that.
Legendary Ymir was a blessing that fell into my lap. Her debut banner came by and I said, I don't want this unit. I'm just gonna, get my free redeem. It's gonna be a 3-star and I'm gonna dip. Well, come to find out, I free redeem summoned her on her debut, and it was luck that I was not gonna turn a blind eye to. Immediately, when I started using her, I could see how good she was in both enemy phase and player phase. Throughout my entire time playing Fire Emblem Heroes, I never really had an Omni tank that I could rely on this much outside of early Book 2-ish 3 armor units, but now armor units are more just used for saviors and the whole playstyle is kind of different. It honestly sort of reminded me of like day 1 Fire Emblem Heroes, where units wouldn't just get straight blown up after 1 turn. You had to usually sometimes do 2 to even 3 turns before you could kill someone. When I brought her back out for testing for this video, Legendary Ymir reaffirmed every thought I had about her originally. In every single battle I did, I just kind of threw her towards the enemy to see if she would even die, and she just never did. She was either gonna blow up the enemy on player phase, or if she got attacked on enemy phase, she's gonna regen health and then blow them up next turn anyway. Nothing could kill her. She pretty much has every tool in the game to be useful and successful for a very long time to come, and I'm super happy that I got her on that Blessed Redeemed summon way back then. Before we get to my number 1 favorite unit from Book 7, I do want to showcase some honorable mentions that I have. These are units that if I had done a longer list, like a top 10, they definitely would have been showcased, but unfortunately for them, Book 7 was a book I summoned on quite a bit, and each new unit, especially towards the later half of the year, kept replacing the ones before them, knocking them down in the rankings. So here are my honorable mentions for Book 7.
Know your place.
We must battle. We ought to celebrate. Training brings results.
For Lady Freya.
I'm here for you. Ha!
Ha!
Vanish from our sight.
I have lived the cycle of grief so many times, I am nearly worn through.
You really thought I was gonna gush over Mythic Gulveg like that and Brave Gulveg wasn't going to be on this list? Shame on you, because Brave Gulveg to me is easily the most fun unit to use in Book 7. Let me set the scene for you. It was CYL voting and I was minding my own business, planning on voting for Mitama 7 days in a row for her to not get in the game again. And about day 3 or 4ish when they put out the midway results, there was rumbles that Gulveg was in the top 15, and I thought, that's pretty cool. I always liked her design, but there's no way she's gonna be in the top 2. I figured she'd be like 8th or something like that. Well, I was wrong because she won and I couldn't have been happier. For better or for worse, maybe she introduced us to the world of Divine Vein Flame, something that at the time I couldn't have really even imagined that Heroes would introduce mass waves of AoE flame death on the map. Her design bridges the gap between Sather and Mythic Gulveg, which was a nice narrative touch, especially when it was taking place in her own book, even though IS never really does story chapters that in depth, outside of the little bit we got in the Forging Bonds, but I still enjoyed that. And as I said earlier, I love Gale Force units and their ability to just decimate the enemy team, and Brave Gulveg is just one of the best to do it. Do I sometimes run into units that she can't kill? Absolutely, but the ease of use to just pick out one unit at a time is almost unmatched. And plus, unlike Mythic Gulveg earlier, she's a flyer, so she's not restricted by any terrain restraints, at least not yet. For me personally, she will only get stronger as plus 10 in this unit is 1000% happening in the very near future. I'm hoping she gets some good reruns, maybe a Flared Sparrow rerun, and then of course CYL units always get a million reruns for their own banner. So even though Brave Gulveg may have brought us into the hell that is units doing a million damage before combat begins, she is easily my favorite unit from Book 7 and probably one of my top favorite units in the entire game. And I know people have been memeing on Gulveg, be like, oh, she's gonna get the summer ult so IS can make money. Well, damn right, because I'm gonna probably plus 10 her because I love this character and there's nothing you can do to change my mind. And because of that, That is why Gulveg is easily my #1 favorite unit from Book 7. And so that concludes my favorite units and unit arts from Book 7. How do you feel about my list? Do you agree with any of my placements? Am I overrating some? Am I forgetting some? Did some get snubbed? Like Duo Kagero, you said you're the Kagero man. How can Kagero not be in your top 5? Well, she just didn't quite outmatch other units I had. I don't know what to say. But please let me know some of your favorite units from Book 7 as well as any art that stands out in your mind. For the new books in the future, I will make more lists as it goes on. I've completely refined my system of doing this whole process of the legwork of recording footage for each unit and compiling notes on how they do as the year goes on. So I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I hope you had a great year and that your summons in Book 8 are incredibly favorable. Teddy Creek, I'm out. Peace.